Welcome everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to this week's episode of the weekly HO Scale newsletter recaps for April 7th, 2025. We have a lot of announcements to cover today because we had the Rocky Mountain Train Show this past weekend, so lots of manufacturers dropped some new announcements, like we have Broadway Limited on the screen already. As always, before we get into it, do me a favor and subscribe if you're new, or if you find yourself coming back anyways. It helps to support the channel, so really appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoyed as well, or just want to help out the algorithm. Drop me a comment if you found anything interesting or are excited for any of these announcements, or have any questions, or if I missed anything, please let me know. We'll go ahead and get started with Broadway Limited. And as you've seen, they have a new product announcement, a new business car, number 101, either the Lone Star or the Lincoln. Same car, just different names depending on the time period. So there are two of the renders up top. Here's some details about it. It was originally called the Lone Star and then became the Lincoln afterwards. A little bit of details. Of course, the Kenefick recently delivered. We'll get to that in just a second here. Here are the drumheads on the back of this new announcement. There's the big boy tour in the top right. And I feel kind of silly because I went back through my old pictures and I thought the Kenefick was the car in the rear of the train when I saw it in Rochelle, Illinois. But it was actually this car, the Lincoln. So, silly me, I'll probably be picking up one of these instead. I'll probably keep the Kenefick around. Really like that car as well. You can check out my review if you're interested. Lots of people have done them. It's a very popular car. It sold out very quickly. Here are some differences there between the Kenefick on top and the Lincoln or Lone Star on the bottom. Mostly that GPS dome is the most obvious, that white dome on the bottom car. But there are a variety of other differences based on the prototype. Here are some more shots side by side of the cars. Different grab iron configurations, obviously different underbodies here. And different window arrangements. You'll see the Lincoln or Lone Star in the front there has a elongated window at the rear of the train compared to the Kenefick in the rear. And as I mentioned, we have more Kenefick announcements. We have both the entire first run rerun with the same drumheads, as well as an addition here, the Missouri Bicentennial drumhead, which was on the car in 2021. So there's a look at that. Update on arrivals there. Pre-orders are due in August, so you got some time to think about this one. Should be arriving in early 2026. I would highly recommend pre-ordering this model based on how fast the Kenefick cars sold out. They were fully reserved from Broadway Limited when they delivered, so if you're thinking about this one, definitely pre-order. They also have two exclusive versions as well. This is the Lone Star with a Nebraska drumhead on the rear. Pretty much the same car, except for the drumhead here. And secondly, Train World is doing the Kenefick done up for the CSX Santa Train, which looks really nice. Really like the printing on the side of the model, some nice decals. So if you're interested in that one, a little bit of a fantasy one. But that's all here from Broadway Limited, some really cool things. A reminder that their F3s and F7s in HO have an order deadline of April 10th for pre-orders. We don't have more pictures to show. We've talked about them before. Just a reminder for you if you're thinking about those or still on the fence, that's coming up soon. Next, we'll take a look at Athearn, where we have a bunch of new announcements as well. All right, over in Athearn's newsletter for this week, we have a bunch of new announcements. The pre-orders on all of these are the same, due on April 25th with an ETA of November 2026 here. We'll start and I'll show you the three Athearn Genesis GP locomotives, and then we'll take a look at all the paint schemes right after each other. First up, the GP49 up at the top. Now in the full Genesis 2.0 line with operating number boards and class lights, just like the other two here. We've got a GP39-2 and GP50s. So let's take a quick look at those product pages, check out all the paint schemes. All right, first up, the GP49. First up, we have a Legendary Livery 250th Anniversary locomotive. Again, Legendary Livery means it doesn't actually exist in real life, just like these Boston and Maine units. Really like that paint scheme. Just another Legendary Livery if you're interested in that one. That's Boston to Maine's final paint scheme. We got the Nacionales de Mexico up next, two of those. Also same thing, high hoods, but also Legendary liveries. As well as locomotives that did exist, GP49s in the high hood Norfolk Southern paint scheme. They do call out that they do have walkway lights, but they are not operating, so kind of a shame there. But they do have operating class lights. Another legendary livery in this run, the executive paint scheme applied to these NS high hoods. Looks kind of cool with the white roof like that, sort of like some of the track geometry cars that they have, or a full OCS train. Here is all of the features and some prototype info on the GP49s. Next up, we've also got a whole bunch of GP39-2s. Legendary livery, once again, we got a lot of these in these announcements. The Rio Grande paint scheme, I think it still looks really sweet. But here are those with the nose driver lights. Next up, we've got MKT. Pretty much all the same locomotive, just different road numbers there. Not too much of differences between them. We've got the Cleveland Commercial Railroad next, just one road number in this scheme. That is a former KD unit. We've got some LTEX units patched over. These do have different road number specific features called out there at the bottom. You'll see the prices here as well. They do come DCC ready or with Tsunami 2 sound. And here are all the features for the GP39-2s. And the final Genesis GP unit we'll take a look at today, the GP50s. We've got BN first. Got a couple different road numbers here. All the same features between the three. We got the TP&W up next. Some pretty neat decals on these locomotives. Part of that Genesee and Wyoming family. We've got Southern next. These do have road number specific features. I'll scroll down a little bit so you can try to see all of them at once. But again, a high hood unit. We've got a legendary livery in the Frisco livery. Do really think this is sharp. Kind of a shame these didn't exist in real life. That'd be a pretty cool one to see roaming around. And the chassis, also a legendary livery. And finally, all of the features on these locomotives. I know I'm moving a little bit quickly through these announcements, but just want to show off the paint schemes and the different options here. Feel free to pause, of course, at any time to take a look at any scheme or road name in detail. Just want to show them off here. I'm sure we'll see them in future updates as well as the pre-order deadline comes closer. We'll move on now back over to the newsletter for the rest of the announcements. All right, next up, moving into the standard Athearn line, we've got SD40s, ICC cabooses, Trinity covered hoppers in singles and 3-packs, as well as a Ford box van. Want to take a quick second to take a look at these three models here, the SD40, the ICC caboose, and the Trinity covered hopper. All right, so in the Athearn SD40 announcement, first up an SD40R in the SP livery commemorating the 1984 Olympic Games over in LA. There's two different number boards on the front of the locomotive there. You'll see 1932 and 1984, which is prototypical for this paint scheme, so that's pretty sweet. See the price there, offered DCC ready or with Econami. Next up, we've got a trio of Western Maryland chassis system units with road number specific features. And a trio of BN units in the BN Whiteface scheme. Former MP units. We've got the Illinois Central, of course, without the dynamic brakes. Also with road number specific features, you got two with the white sill and one with the yellow sill, all Operation Lifesaver units. And a pair of Southern high hoods. Always thought the Southern scheme was pretty sweet. A pair of B&O units, that nice dark blue scheme. Another trio, this time in the Conrail scheme with a couple road number specific features here. Detroit Edison is next. Trio here, pretty much all the same units, just different road numbers on these. And then Maine Central units, sort of patched those last Detroit Edison units, so two of those. We got Morrison Knudsen next. 2 units. These are rebuilds, of course, SD40M-2s with their own road number specific features, ex-Kansas City Southern units. And here's a list of all the features on these units. We'll move on now over to the ICC caboose. Next up, in the Genesis line, which it wasn't in that little section in the newsletter, little mistake there, but no worries. This is a Genesis that is offered with the Tsunami sound car, so you can get it just standard DCC and lights or with sound. That's pretty sweet. Here's a safety caboose there for chassis or B&O up at the top, and then a standard B&O caboose down below. Here's a look at the prices there without sound and just lights, or with that Tsunami sound car. There's another chassis B&O CCH caboose, which stands for Careful Car Handling. A chassis down here, got 2 of those. And just like the locomotive, we have a 250th anniversary caboose here as well. And here are all the road names and features on these cabooses. I've been on a bit of a tangent caboose binge recently, looking at a whole bunch of these. I don't own any of these Genesis sound car cabooses yet. Might pick one up just to test it out. I don't necessarily need the sound, maybe just the DCC and lights, but I still think it's a pretty good model if you're looking for one of these specific paint schemes. Another one to consider. And finally, the last announcement we'll take a look at from Athearn, the Trinity 5161 covered hoppers. These are the Genesis line, also in the wrong section in the newsletter, no biggie. I really like that Potash Corp car. I've been seeing a bunch of those recently, so I think it's a really cool paint scheme. I'll probably pick up a 3-pack of those. There's a couple different options here. The KCS and Crab Orchard and Egyptian, we saw very similar ones from Class 1 Model Works recently released, so those might work very well if you buy a couple of those, mix and match. 2 legendary liveries there at the bottom, the SPSF and the Missouri Pacific. Don't pay too much attention to the prices there. That is obviously incorrect for the 3-pack. It's just 3 times that price for the individuals, or just about 3 times. Same order deadline of April 25th for all these models that we've taken a look at from Athearn today. Here's a little bit of the features and prototype info on these hoppers. That's all here from Athearn. We'll move on now over to ScaleTrains. All right, next up we've got ScaleTrains' newsletter. You'll see at the top this big announcement. The operator Amazon containers have already sold out by the time I'm recording this. They probably lasted maybe 15-20 minutes after this newsletter dropped, so they are not in stock, unfortunately. They retail for $30, and they've been selling on eBay and Facebook for upwards of $200 sometimes, so kind of ridiculous. So I do hope they bring those back in a future release. There are some COFC containers, that paint scheme still in stock, but that is it. Little spotlight here on the CSX Heritage painted in the Atlantic Coastline scheme, number 1871. That recent run of ES44s that delivered. A little bit of history here if you're interested in learning about the railroad, which I didn't know too much, so some pretty good reading. If you're interested in that, feel free to pause and take a look. Reminder, they have 8 of the first CSX Heritage schemes currently in stock, with the next batch arriving early this summer. Model we've seen before, the Rivet Counter PS5820 covered hoppers. Very limited stock on these. Here's some of those paint schemes going by. I know a couple of you were talking about that Carlon paint scheme. Pretty sweet. Haven't picked up any of them myself, but it's a really good model to have out there. Here's a quick overview of the quantity available from ScaleTrains directly, if you're interested in any of these and buying direct from ScaleTrains. And next up in the Exact Rail Evolution series, model we've seen before, the Evans 4780 covered hopper. A little bit of history on the LEF&C Railroad. It's a short line in Pennsylvania. It's a reminder of the road names and paint schemes, and most of them are pretty limited stock here from ScaleTrains. Reminder of the Rivet Counter tunnel motors that recently delivered their first run in maybe 5 years or so. Just picked up a second batch of them, so I got 4 of the Rio Grande scheme, 2 as delivered and 2 with PTC. I'm over the moon with them, so excited. Made a little recap of the most recent 2 that I just purchased, so I'm very excited to have those. Here's a reminder of the current stocking levels directly from ScaleTrains. A lot of them are fairly sold out. You might get lucky and find some at a retailer or hobby shop. Definitely worth an ask. You'll see none with DCC and sound from ScaleTrains available. N-scale tunnel motors are on their way this summer. There's a video here from DeBob's N-scale man cave that took a look at the N-scale Trinity coal hoppers. Here's the road names and paint schemes in that if you're interested in that in N-scale. A reminder that the ExactRail Platinum Berwick 7580 appliance box cars are available at 50% off retail because of a roof error. It's just the incorrect roof based on the prototype. So if you're interested in picking up some of those, there's those paint schemes currently available. Very happy with the ExactRail Platinum beer cars I have, so pretty high level of quality, similar to Rivet Counter. In the operator line, we've got a bunch of Thrall 86-foot high cube double plug door box cars. A bunch of those still in stock at a more budget price. You're missing out on the train line hoses and such, but still a good model if you're looking for some of those. In the Rivet Counter run of the 86-foot high cubes, these models have a roof walk. You'll see all the paint schemes there, as well as a bunch of features in this list. And coming up this summer are models without roof walks. Here's a list of those road names and paint schemes with a bunch of them flashing by on the screen there. The pre-orders for the N&W J class expired this past week, so if you're interested in picking one of those up directly from ScaleTrains, there still might be some in stock for you. Heard fairly decent things about them, some pretty good reviews out there. Definitely take a look at them. I don't have one myself on order, just not super interested in it. I think it's a really cool model, just I don't need it on my layout at this time. But definitely take a look at the reviews and make a decision if that's one you want to go for. To go with that J class, the Powhatan Arrow passenger cars are still in stock. Those pre-orders expired, so if you're looking to pick up some of those, they are now back in stock. Here is an update from ScaleTrains on the current tariff situation. Again, ever changing. They don't have any models currently on their way besides those N-scale models shown just there. Should be arriving mid to late April. But when their next container arrives, they'll evaluate the tariff situation and make a decision at that time because things just keep changing. And of course, they were at the Rocky Mountain Train Show this past weekend, as well as at Super Train. But that's all we have here from ScaleTrains for this week. Let's go ahead and take a look at some updates from Rapido from the Rocky Mountain Train Show. Alright, just wanted to show off some samples that Rapido showed off from the Rocky Mountain Train Show. Of course, if you were there, you were able to check them out in person. Starting off, here are some of the CF7s in a couple different configurations. Here's a look at the inside, got some of the control stand detail. Next up, we've got the GP39 and Slug set. These also look great. Of course, they'll come with metal handrails and all the etched metal separately applied pieces you could desire from Rapido. Here's a couple shots of the FT locomotives. Got some different headlight configurations and a little bit of differences across the board. You can check out all those separately applied details that are unpainted there, that unpainted brass. Here are the Rio Grande cabooses they're offering as well. Again, tons of etched metal pieces. Pretty excited for those. I didn't end up pre-ordering them. Pretty sure these are 3D printed samples, by the way, on these two. So I'm just going to wait for those to be in stock. I did pre-order some of these, the Greenbrier reefers, in a couple different configurations. Here's a look at some of the underbody detail on these cars, as well as the coupling and some different roof configurations. Next up, the Norfolk Southern Camp car. Very nice decal there. Those look great as well. As well as the Berlin Mills box cars and the PFE reefers. lot of those models should be on their way from Rapido's factory. They put a separate post up, but I'll just summarize that quickly. Should be on their way in the next week or so, and the PFE reefers will be shipping out the week afterwards. So next week or two, hopefully we'll finally get those Metra F40 PHM-2s and all of the other models that are now in stock that have been waiting and shipped over to Buffalo on hold until April. So it's about time we get them. Very excited, but keep your eyes out. I'm going to switch over to a couple other posts from Rapido just to show off some more samples next. Next up, just a solo shot of these samples of the Greenbrier reefers. You'll notice on the one on the bottom, there's a little green light, and I'm not sure if that's also going to be present on the non-sound versions or just the sound versions. Kind of how ScaleTrains did with their Trinity reefers. The light control on the actual AC unit itself was only present on the sound version, so that's what I'm expecting to be the case for these, but still really nice samples. We saw a couple other pictures from the train show as well. And next up, some more samples from the Rocky Mountain Train Show, the Chicago L car. These are just 3D printed samples, but just overall notes on the design itself. Looks really cool. Very excited for those. I'll probably pick up a pair or set. I'm not sure how they're going to sell them quite yet. The full announcement should be coming pretty soon, but it looks like they've pretty much nailed all the details from what I can tell on these cars. Of course, no windows or anything because just 3D printed. This should be pretty sweet. Looks like they'll also be selling the stand that these aren't, the actual L tracks themselves in a double track configuration. So that'll be pretty cool. Here's a view from underside as well. And then very quickly, a couple of reminders of upcoming pre-order deadlines for Rapido. First, the balloon top coaches have an order deadline of April 15th. There's a little bit of the details on the right side of the screen, as well as all the paint schemes. We've covered them all before, so I won't go through them all individually, but if you're looking to pick some of those up, get your order in on those. And the second model here with an order deadline, April 15th, coming up next week, the Trenton Works 6348 cubic foot boxcar. So a little bit of information once again on the right side of your screen, list of details, etc. There's the first sample on the bottom on the left side, as well as the prototype itself. Looks pretty cool again, standard level of Rapido boxcar detail, so it should be another pretty good car as well. And finally, the model I'm most excited for with an order deadline of April 15th next week, the next run of AutoFlood 3 coal hoppers. Again, features on the right, I'll scroll a little bit through those. I am excited for those because I'm probably going to order at least one set of them. Not shown here is the Railroad of Lies version they're doing. They're doing 2 of those. Probably going to pick up a 6-pack of the Union Pacific as well as maybe the BNSF Circle Cross scheme. I did actually just order about last week or so a couple sets of the BNSF Wedge scheme, as well as I already had one of the dual rotary coupler cars from before, so I'm very excited for those. They're probably the most premium hopper that I've ever seen in person. Again, there's other manufacturers out there, but for me, very excited for them. I love the first run so much that that's why I'll be going and pre-ordering a couple of these new runs. Some UP, some BNSF Circle Cross, and I'm going to get those Railroad of Lies versions just because they got blue bearing caps, and it's pretty cool to have some of those. I don't own any of the Railroad of Lies cars Rapido has done yet, but I know they've been very popular, so I'll pick some up for myself, see what the hype is about, and then be just on board with everybody else with them. But that's all here from Rapido. We do have another announcement from Prairie Shadows to take a look at. And next up from Prairie Shadows, without any pre-order or earlier announcement, they dropped in HO scale Trinity 50-foot high cube boxcars in their BTS line. If you know, you know. Won't say what that means on camera. These do come with KD couplers stock, have some very nice details across the board. They do have 2 special 2-packs. There's a couple patches here, as you can see listed out. We'll take a look at the paint schemes in just a second here. Just a note, they do have more models or announcements coming without pre-orders or anything, so just keep an eye out. I did miss this a little bit. This was posted back in March 26th, so apologies on that. Meant to cover that last week, but missed that one. We'll take a look at the paint schemes on these gorgeous cars up next. So here are these paint schemes. First up, the Canadian National scheme. You'll see quite heavily weathered different patch jobs on these. I think they look great. Tons of extra detail. Here's the SOXX versions here. XAOK models. Those look great with a prototypically accurate door on it as well. Heard good things about those. Hard to find these, only a couple in this release, but they should be having more coming soon, so keep an eye out for those. Very excited for those, just wanted to show those off. We'll move on now over to Walthers next. Next up, we've got Walthers' e-update. Same tariff news as before, nothing has changed in their newsletter here. Reminder, their spring sale is on until May 15th, so a little bit of time left for that. Next up, they highlight the Proto GP35s. Seems like a pretty good model. Pretty standard, good Walthers drive. I know Broadway Limited recently delivered GP35s as well, so it could be a good comparison between those. Competing similarly with ScaleTrains, we've got the 86-foot Pullman standard high cube boxcar. So ScaleTrains, we got a Thrall as well as Tangent and Class 1 Model Works, also doing different variations of 86-foot boxcars. Lots of them currently available in the market. So if you're into auto parts trains, this is the time to be a modeler. So it's really exciting to see just a bunch of different companies with different models and different options for you to choose from. In N scale, Atlas has GP38s, DCC ready or DCC sound. Again, just an N scale. And Bachmann recently announced and delivered some Trinity 5161 covered hoppers. We'll take a quick look at that announcement in just a second here as well. These seem to be pretty good, standard Bachmann line, standard Bachmann details. Let's take a look at the different paint schemes that they have here. And here is Bachmann's announcement for these Trinity 5161 3-bay covered hoppers. A little bit of prototype history if you're interested in that as well. Each of these cars comes in 2 road numbers per road name. So there's only 8 total SKUs or different products offered here. So if you want a big unit train of these cars, you'll be doing some patch jobs. Got some unique paint schemes. I do really like this Canadian Pacific Railway paint scheme with the Soo line reporting marks and that red and white striping on the bottom. I'll probably pick up some of those in the future, maybe from Bachmann, maybe from a different manufacturer, but it's just one of my favorite paint schemes that I've seen in videos and such rolling by. Of course, Norfolk Southern as well. And then a little bit of detail shots here. And some of the features on this model. A little bit of new model updates here on the short body bay window transfer cabooses in the family line system colors, and there's the maintenance away Union Pacific version. Should be shipping later this year if you have those on pre-order as well. And very quickly, another announcement from Bachmann, the center beam flat cars in HO scale. A little bit of prototype history on these cars. And here are the products currently available. Same thing. All the models that are shown here are the ones that are available. A couple different BC Rail paint jobs there. Or CN, excuse me. But another good car. Again, Bachmann line isn't always the top of the line detail, but pretty standard line, sort of comparable to sort of a Walthers main line if you wanted to pick some up. Really good, like I always say, to fill out a fleet of cars where you don't super or always need that high level of detail. But if you're buying 1 car or 2 cars, you may want that higher level of detail. So just something to consider. It's another option in the market for you. And additionally, model coming soon. A couple new paint schemes on their 52-foot center beams with a lumber load, which is kind of cool. And the images don't load here, but the CN full-dome passenger car is in the works and should be arriving later this year. This is the car in the business train fleet, so if you're looking to pick that one up, it's on its way shortly later this year. Next up, we'll take a look at a couple new models on their way from Atlas. Alright, first up, we'll take a quick look at the Atlas 5250 covered hoppers. Here is the Sitco paint scheme on that one up top. Some pretty decent details on these cars, a little bit of prototype history as well as the different features listed there. And here's a look at all of the different paint schemes available, in addition to the 2 up above. Pretty good option for you, some unique ones to choose from. And final newsletter for this week are updates on Atlas's products in the works on their way. First up, a couple N-scale models, Dash 8, as well as a coil car. But of course, in HO scale, they've got the RS11 coming soon. as well as a ballast car, another coil car, and thrall gondola. Excited to see that new run of Trinity 64-foot reefers. I was on the fence between buying the Exactro Platinum beer cars I have in the bright orange Tropicana livery or going for their previous run of reefers with the Tropicana logo, the all white with the Tropicana logo on it. Was looking at some online, they were quite expensive, so I ended up just going with the Exactro models because they were much cheaper. I got them on sale. But if they're doing some more of these models in the future, that'd be a cool paint scheme to pick a couple up. And finally, in O-Scale, we've got a couple in their Premier line. Got Dash 9s, GP38s, as well as another coil car. So they're delivering coil cars in all three scales coming up. But that's all I have for you this week. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far, consider subscribing. Really appreciate it. Helps me to grow the channel as well as make a couple dollars, so really appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoyed as well. Drop me a comment if you found anything interesting or just want to chat. And of course, if I missed anything, feel free to let me know and I'll try to cover it next week. But thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.